Let's just start whatever. One of you play now.
We ready to go?
Yeah.
Well, hi everybody, welcome to the Olympian Table. This is the place where everybody talks about real estate investing and the best ways to live the dream. And today at the table, we've invited Mr. James Lee from Lee Group Loans. Now, if you want to know all the latest in lending options, James is the man to come and see. And also we've got William Diaz, who's a real estate investor, wholesaler. He's got a construction company and he does an awful lot of remodeling. And we've never been in a position really where, the market's been like this. Some people say the market's going to crash in 6 months and 12 months and all the stuff that sort of comes out. And to be perfectly honest, I really can't see it happening. We've never been in a position like this before where, the market's been in this position. I mean, we've got a real estate company, Century 21 Olympian, and to be perfectly honest, I just can't see the collapse. I just can't see it happening. I was one of the foreclosure kings back in the, early 2000s, and, there was inventory. All of a sudden we have no inventory. And in the real estate business, whether you're an investor or whether you're a flipper or a wholesaler or such like, we just haven't faced the same challenges as what we got now. So what I'd like to start off with, first of all, is we've got William Diaz, who we'd like to sort of invite in from a construction point. He brought some things up the other day that I thought was really interesting. I thought we'd bring them to everybody's, notice, which is, the cost of the repairs. William, is that correct? The cost of the repairs have gone up 50%.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, like double the price on materials, pretty much. That's how bad the supplies are going. And I think it's going to increase based on what I see coming. Like there's not a lot of contractors out there for the demand. And I see it with my subcontractors as well. They're all busy. They all have backed up projects and all that.
And the part that I find interesting about that is, we manage homeowners associations, and with the recent freeze we had in Texas, which was a complete mess. It really was a complete mess. On one of the properties that we had 72 leaks. We couldn't find plumbers. We couldn't find anything. We couldn't find plumbing supplies.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's another friend that I know who, used to work for us and now works for one of the big builders. And he was saying that the builders have got a 6-month backup. And part of the problem with that is because they can't get supplies. They can't get basic supplies to buy the houses. Another person that we just moved up to Dallas, they basically just turned around and said they put their name down on a waiting list, and there's 250 houses available up at this project in Dallas, and there's a waiting list for 1,000. They're just not taking any more people to even buy the house.
Yes.
And I just don't know where it stops. I mean, we've just never been in this situation before and faced with the challenges that we've got, and I just can't see it collapsing. James, what's your point of view on it?
Kind of to that point, right? I don't either, because the demand is there. We have not met the numbers that we need to be able to get the people that are interested in buying homes. Hence, you have a waiting list for 1,000 people. I just don't see it. Interest rates are still low, regardless of what people think. They're still low. They're not as low as they were a few months ago, but I think they'll kind of maintain here or even go even lower in the coming future. When you have demand and you have little supply, I mean, it bodes well for us to be in a good position to be where we are now. So this is it's a unique position that we haven't been in before, but I think it's a great position for all of us to kind of win if we can survive through. It'll definitely be it'll cut away the fat, and it'll separate the men from the boys for sure.
And why do you think this is happening? Is it just because people don't want to sell the homes, or it's just too like?
I think it's a combination of things, right? So people aren't as apt to sell because you got to go and buy another one. So if you think about it, 4 or 5 years ago, a house that you bought for $200,000, now that same house is probably $250,000 in just 4 or 5 years. So if I'm selling my house, you're thinking in your head, well, man, I don't want to pay that much for this house. If I want to get something equal to what I have, I'm going to pay $50,000 to $60,000 more. So some folks just aren't selling, and those that are selling, they are selling it for well above what the actual list price is, and that creates a completely different problem. So I know you as a contractor, seeing that the supplies kind of go up, that trickles down to the builders even. I've seen homes in the builders where if 1 month the house is $230, then the next month is $240, then the next month is $250, and that just it squeezes everyone. But I mean, the great thing is people are still wanting to buy though. People are still wanting to buy.
Yes.
And and the other side of the coin is, I mean, if it was the other way round, and people said, well, it's going to crash or whatever they say it was, then it had pushed the demand up even more.
Right.
But the demand is just going up and going up. We recently had a house in the Galleria, which was listed at $450,000, which had 120 offers on the property.
That's crazy.
And the problem with that is people say what a great market is and how it's going up, but there's a problem with that, because the problem with that is there's 119 people that can't buy a house, that haven't got the opportunity to buy a house. Right. And so, it's although it's nice for the prices to go up and people to get equity in the house, it really is difficult. We had another house over in League City, which was listed at 5 o'clock on a Friday night, and by Sunday there was 20 offers on the house. It's difficult for the agents. Then you've got the communication, and then sometimes you've got what we call in the industry, some of these hobby agents, and they're really not serving the client in the right way, because they might not be full-time, and sometimes that's a problem because they've got to be on it. You've got to be in it to win it. And the truth of the matter is, I mean, we've never been faced with a situation like this before. When I was one of the foreclosure kings in 2008, I mean, it was a simple case of 1 in 5 houses were looking at foreclosure. Now it's like 0.5.
Yeah, the foreclosures aren't. It's not right now.
It's not.
That's not the issue. Matter of having enough inventory.
Yeah,
before these people can actually buy houses. And to that, it's definitely gonna be a challenge. But I think if those of us that are doing this and doing it full time, we'll come out on the other side shining. Yeah. I know it's rough, man. No supplies. You imagine. I think you were telling me the other day you went in and some was it 2x4s or some studs?
2x4s.
Like 100% increase on the price.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I would say about a month ago, I bought them for $5, like $5.79. Then I went and bought it for $10.
Wow,
unbelievable!
That was about 2 days ago.
And that's just lumber.
That's just lumber, right? Yeah, wood.
Yeah, everything. And I mean, even investors, like I was telling you the other day, I just went to Rosenberg to bid on a property, and there was like 40 investors in there. So it's like, people are working to get that one deal. On the investor side of the real estate, they can pay anything. I mean, just to make another $5,000.
So let me ask you this: so with supplies being increased, are you finding that the guys on your team are they demanding more for payment?
Oh yeah, big time.
They are.
I just had this conversation yesterday with a client that I gave him a bid for the whole house to be rehabbed. And now, I mean, everybody called me and said, look, we cannot do it for that price anymore. We're going to have to increase it. And so I needed to come to my client and tell him that, the price that I originally gave him was not going to work anymore. And so now, and he actually got money from the insurance company. That's what I've been thinking. What are they going to do? Like people that suffer from the weather that we had, they're just now getting their checks, and the price were based on
old pricing.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that puts them at a negative straight away.
And so I don't know how everything's going to work out.
So let me ask you this: as a contractor, then, if you got somebody you're doing that kind of work, and it's an insurance deal, is it worth you as a contractor keeping that relationship to say, hey, you know what, maybe the margins on this one, they'll be a little more slim. I'm going to go ahead and do the job, or do you walk away from it and just say, hey, I can't do it for this because it's going to cost me money?
For me, I'd rather just walk away. It depends on the relationship I have with my client. But at least I got to make something, because otherwise I'm going to end up in the hole. If I just keep on doing that, and it's everywhere, it's not like it's just going to be that one client.
Right. And I asked that question because that very well could be the catalyst that starts the foreclosure stuff. You got homes that are undone, unfinished. People can't afford to fix them, so they walk away from them.
But the plan by the feds is to, what caused the problem in the foreclosure times in the early 2000s was people lost equity and it took them years to recover.
Correct.
But now it's the federal government's plan, they actively want inflation between 3 and 5% per year, because that way, it's easier for people to recover. So what do? Do you put your 3 or 5%, with that inflation rate? That's why stocks have been so successful for some people. That's why people are now going into Bitcoin.
Right.
And, and are people coming away from real estate? I mean, I came over, obviously, I say to everybody, I'm Texas born and bred, but I came over here in 95, as an Olympic skating coach and wanted to get in real estate to live my American dream. Then, lo and behold, what happens, you get into real estate, and in my generation, you get into real estate, but now there's even a line of thinking with some of the younger folks where they say, oh no, I want to rent.
Right.
To me, it's all about diversity. But what happens, now, because of that 3 to 5% increase a year, the system is designed to, for people to buy houses so their price goes up. But like you said, it's very reciprocal. You sell your house, but then you've got to find another one. And we've had instances where people have moved from California, people have moved from Canada to get into the Texas market because it's a hot market. But then we had one gentleman moving from here. He sold his house, out in Meridiana, and he wanted to move to North Carolina. And he can't find a house in North Carolina.
Because it's a blanket, not just Texas, everywhere.
Right.
It's everywhere.
And, then you've got the deferred mortgages that are coming in and everything else that's helping that. And that's where people see the bubble start. And that's where the problem's going to start, when that sort of, when the foot comes off the accelerator. What happens then? But I really can't see it happening because we haven't got the inventory. So perhaps people are going to come in, investors and such like. We've seen more cash investors than anybody else. We had an offer 4 weeks ago, where it was a multiple offer situation, and the gentleman that won that offer was $70,000 above the list price.
Wow.
It made no difference where the appraisal comes in.
Yeah, no. And I was going to make a comment about the when you mentioned that what are the people going to do if they can afford to repair the home?
Right.
They are selling it like that.
As is.
Yeah, as is. I've seen a couple of properties that they lowered down the price, at least $15,000. They'll then most of the investors
they just scoop it up and buy it.
Boom.
Yeah, and the thing that I really feel for is, it's so important as real estate agents that we represent the clients. And we know there's a big debate going on at the moment with Rex and our real estate agents worth 3%. My personal feeling is great real estate agents are worth 10%. Because if you walk, a lot of people do not understand representation, the fiduciary duty. We just had one of our agents, property was listed at $220,000. They actually went in at $225,000. Fight that to get it because of multiple offers. They ended up, making an offer for $225,000. At the closing table, they ended up getting it down because of good negotiation and good strategy for that buyer, and they ended up getting that property for 215,500. That's a good agent doing a great job. Not a hobby agent; it's a professional agent doing a great job. The other agent wasn't happy, but to be perfectly honest, that's their problem. But the truth of the matter is, our agent did a good job. And that's one of the big things that people don't really fully understand is good agents are worth every penny that they have, because if not, they're not represented.
You're right. And I've been through that. When I started doing investing, I was looking for a good agent that can give me good information, that help me make money, and I couldn't find anybody. And I went to different companies. It wasn't just one company. I went to different companies, different people. But it was the same thing. I couldn't find anybody to represent me to work for my interest.
Well, that's how I got into it, through investing.
Yeah.
And I turned around and at one point I said, I'll never be one of them real estate agents. I will never be one of them real estate agents. They don't understand about customer service. The story of that is never ever say never. Running a company with 3 offices.
Absolutely.
So, but it just goes to show. But that's the problem. Is when you're from the outside looking in, you think it's an easy job. But good real estate agents are worth 10%. Especially with we work hard for our money, and sometimes we do so much, and we don't get paid. But the truth of the matter is, you've got to get it. You've got to be in it to win it. Anyway, so James, what else do you think about the market? Anything else that you feel is? You say the markets are going to go up, correct? You say the interest rate's going to go up and then it's going to come down again, correct?
I think so. And I don't think they're going to go up much. They've already kind of shifted a little bit. I'd say about a month or two. Gone up probably about a quarter, 8 of an inch, which is still low. So we're talking about anywhere from, 2 2.75 to 3%. Still get some things down below 3% credit line. The biggest problem that we run into now is the people that are buying homes, by and large, have never seen interest rates. So they feel like anything of, in the 4s, or why is it so, why is it, quite frankly, it's still historically low. I can remember.
I bought my first house at 12%.
Prime example.
1997.
Double-digit interest selling to people with good credit. That's what was available. And I think we get into this mentality that, it's cheap. I got to get it cheap. What, last year? What were we paying for gas?
In hindsight, I think it's so funny. I bought my first house at 12%, and I thought that was a good interest rate.
Right, exactly. It's all perspective.
I thought I got a deal at 12%.
Yes, all perspective, because everybody, my friend got 15, I got 12, so you think you're winning, right? Yeah. That's the deal. Right. We want this deal. Well, and there's more to it, and come to your point about being a good agent. The key to that is good, but it goes the same way with loan officers, being able to make them understand. Hey, listen, the lowest interest rate isn't always the best deal for you. Because if I charge you $10,000 for a loan interest rate, you can get one that's maybe, a half a point higher, then that's not the best deal for you.
James is saying that to rub my nose in it, because I bought a property, right? I used James for the loan, and James said, don't bother paying the extra $9,000 to pay the note down, because the interest rates are going to go down. What did I do? I paid the $9,000 to get the interest down, to put more cash flow into the deal. And what happened 4 months after the deal? It went down. I should have refinanced it, and I would have been better off doing that. But did I listen to James? No. So listen. You live and you learn. Get a good loan officer like James, and then have a guess what? Do what he tells you to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I think we're going to be fine. I think business is fine. We'll continue to buy. We just have to do a great job at educating people. Get away from doing it just for the money to line our pockets. Get away from that. If you're a service oriented mindset, man, you do a good job for people, you'll get more money than you can ever spend in your whole life. So,
Well, how many times have we spoke about it though? You do a good deal for people.
Absolutely.
If you give good service, that's the way you generate a
That's
good
the way to
quality
do it.
business. And there are agents out there that just think about the money, and that doesn't work. And it's I hope then people fail. To be perfectly honest, always put your client first.
absolutely.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, and I've seen it because there's a lot of bad agents out there. There was a property that I made an offer on, and it was for full price. The property was on the market, and that was this year. The property was on the market for well, I think it was 45 days.
But are they bad agents or are they uneducated agents
That's
that don't
the-
show any? I think it's down to education
Yep.
and having a genuine passion. As an Olympian, I'll tell you, got to have that passion. You got to have that passion to be a success in the industry.
I agree.
If you put the whole thing together in relation to, well, I just want to make the money. I mean, I get new agents all the time, and we turn new agents down because they're so focused on the money and they haven't got the passion to be a success. I was speaking to an agent 2 days ago, and she turns around and she says, oh, well, I want to change my life and I want to make my money. That's not enough. It's just
Right.
not enough. You've got to have a passion to learn. And that's the problem with, especially new agents coming in. What they end up doing is they come into the business and as they get busier, it becomes a time management problem. Because they need to put time aside to learn,
Right.
to educate themselves on how the market changes.
Absolutely.
Real estate agents in 5 years' time are going to be completely different to us as they are now. That they're going to make money in different income streams. And it's basically, you adapt or you die.
That's right.
If you don't
That's
adapt and you die, I mean, I don't think Zillow's done anything at all for our industry. I don't think Realtor.com's done anything for our industry.
No.
You cannot replace a quality real estate agent that genuinely represents the client. How does a first-time home buyer come into the business and understand all them stages? I mean, the first time I bought a house, I couldn't believe it. It was a VA foreclosure.
Right.
I ended up signing 75 pages down at the VA in Houston. And I was so happy. As an immigrant coming into the country, I just got my H-1B visa. I was so happy to get a mortgage because I had no credit. I thought I was on heaven. I really did. And I had a 12% interest rate.
Ooh, jackpot, you win, right?
I know. And now that you mentioned those two companies, I just found out this yesterday. I mean, they're killing the real estate agent. There's a guy that I know. He rented a place in Cinco Ranch.
Mhm.
The property, I know the market on the rental market on that property. I know it goes for like way over 2,200 to
Oh my
2,500.
There's a rental?
Yeah, it's a rental, and he got it through Zillow. Contact the owner and got it to 1,700. So the owner thinks that they're spending less because they don't want to pay a real estate agent to help them with that rental.
But it's not just about even the rental cost. It's about the terms of the lease. Everybody has their good months, bad months. The late fees.
I know,
and
but
the
what I'm
terms
talking
of the
is
lease.
like they probably pay a fee for, I don't know how much. I don't know, maybe $100, $200 for Zillow to market that property. And they're losing so much money. You're talking about what, $500, $700 a month that this person is losing because they didn't want to pay a real estate agent.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I got
Yeah,
you.
because he's on a lease for 1,700 instead of 2,200 or 2,500. And that's what I'm saying.
And how much more do you think the interest rates will go?
I don't think they'll go up much. They can't afford to go up. Because it'll choke out folks that are looking. I mean, when I say go up, meaning they're going to kind of, they've gone up already.
It's gonna be slow.
I think it kind of will normalize a little bit for a while. Then, they go up a little bit, but I don't think they're, quite frankly, back lower than where they were before.
You feel that qualifying for the loans is becoming harder for people?
Great question. I think the qualifying for the loan is normalizing, quite frankly. I think before they weren't tight enough. There was really no room for ability to pay. Fog a mirror and you can get a mortgage. You had credit, that was good enough, and we'll go ahead and give you this, $200,000 loan. In times past, since the crash in 2008, things have been put in place with the Dodd-Frank Act, and it's really held mortgage companies or our feet to the fire as if we were the total cause of it. Quite frankly, consumers knew what they were getting into in many, many cases. But it holds us accountable to say, hey, listen, you have to make sure that you can prove to us that you can qualify for this mortgage. So we have parameters set to show that they have the ability to repay that mortgage. And there's even penalties, for first payment defaults. So if someone gets a mortgage and they don't make that first payment, that falls back on us. So there's a lot that's at risk now for us to make sure that this person can qualify for the mortgage. I think that's normal. If you're giving someone $250,000 for a house, you need to make sure they can pay you back.
Yeah.
And are people doing adjustable rate mortgages more than fixed, or are they keeping
fixed? Is always the hero, right? Because it's safe. It's the safest
for
option
budgeting purposes
for people, right? It's not going to change no matter what the market does. It won't fluctuate. But honestly, there was when rates got super low, folks with adjustable rate mortgages, they were winning. Those things dropped down and they kept going because they're indexed by these different treasuries, and they were paying low, but it doesn't stay there. That's the only thing. It just kind of, after that fixed period is over with, it can go up and down. So the person that wants that ARM, that adjustable rate mortgage, they know they want it. Contractors, be oil and gas people, or nurses or doctors that are traveling. They may be here for a few years, and those are the ones that may entertain that because they can be able to buy a house, get the lower interest rate on the ARM, and before it starts to shift, they've already moved, and they got another job somewhere else, so they can still not have any issue or any penalties.
While we're talking about oil and gas, one of the things I find with Houston specifically, we're very sensitive to oil and gas. When we got low gas prices, people move out to the burbs.
Right.
And then, when prices go up a bit, they start to moving. And so it's sort of continually sort of helping. Plus, as gas prices rise, then, we get busier on the whole. Have you felt that happen recently?
No, not really. Because it went up. It almost looked like it went up overnight, right? As far as gas goes. But it hasn't gotten out of hand. I think a lot of people are still moving outward from Houston because, it's all the cement in Houston, and we flood. Houston is built to flood, so the water can run out to the bayous. But the streets will fill up, and people are moving further out. Some of those areas, they want a little bit more space, want a little bit more freedom, be able to see the stars at night, so on and so forth. So I haven't seen a ton of it. Even where I live, we bought in 2016, and when we moved in, man, it was cows across the street from. There was big fields, nothing there, and shoot, now Meridiana's across the way, Sierra Vista's over there, so there's home. People are moving further out, and we moved out there to kind of get away. So still waiting on that grocery store though. It's coming. The next year or two, we'll have one. But yeah, it's going to spread out, man. Houston's huge.
Yeah, and so you feel obviously we're in a multiple offer situation. And one of the things as a real estate agent that I found is if we're listing properties, we're always looking. This is why it's so important to get pre-qualified before you even make that offer.
Yes.
And it's so difficult at times to get people to, they think, well, I'll just make an offer for the house, then I'll get qualified. And, sometimes it's difficult to sort of get that through to people to get them to understand. But it's so important that they're qualified for that loan, because we've had offers where people are waiving the appraisal, people are putting extra cash down, even, in the wholesaling world. And, we spoke about this, William, that people are putting wholesaling deals, and traditionally, they try to buy like 50%. Will buy, and they're not buying the property, they're just buying a financial interest in the property and then selling it on. Which, I've got very hard feelings on that. I think it needs to be sort of outlawed, but it happens. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, some of the cash portions that we've seen making offers at the moment, especially when we're listing a property, have just been, we've never seen it before.
Right.
We've never seen this reaction to the market. And that's when people say, oh, there's going to be a crash and there's going to be a crash at the end of 2000. I just can't see it, because it's like all of a sudden all this cash is appearing everywhere. The only similarity that I see between early 2000 foreclosures and basically the market now, the only similarity that I see is when we had them foreclosures in 2000, people were selling their cats, their dogs, and anything they could sell, just to get that cash to buy a property, because it was instant equity on the property, and they knew it was going to go up. But even now, the amount of cash that seems to be coming through the woodwork when people are making offers, and if you've got 20 offers on a property, then it's the terms to that you're really looking for. They're waiving the appraisal. Well, if you're waiving the appraisal, you better have a good agent. You better have a good agent to know that they can negotiate and you're really not, offering too much. Because the thing is, with residential real estate, it can be it can be a very emotional process. So from that point, it's real interesting. But there's a lot of new developments going up in the Houston area, which I think is encouraging. But at the moment, there's a definite lack of inventory. And the other part that's interesting is, traditionally in Houston, the sweet spot when you buy a house has been, like 3 years ago, it was 245. 2 years ago, it might have gone up to 265. And then it's gone up to 285. Now the sweet spot really is anything from maybe 110 up to, 325, would you say, James?
Yeah.
But now we're even getting multiple offers on $1 million homes, and we're getting multiple offers. That one we had for 120 offers in the week, out in the Galleria, 120 offers on the property was $450,000.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in good condition. It wasn't as if it was in great condition. It needed work.
The jumbo market, which of course it's moved more than it ever has here past, where it was anything years ago over 417,000. That market is slow. It just didn't. You didn't get multiple offers. It was unheard of to get multiple offers on that. But now, man, you see that, and it's up to 548, which is the max down. So it's crazy to see homes that much having multiple offers. Shoot, where are people getting this money from? Where's the money coming from? It's great. Especially for those agents that are listing those properties, but it's definitely a different type of market. It just looks completely different than in 2008, which is why for me, I don't feel like the environment's the same for a quote unquote crash. Now, I'm just a little old me, so I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm hopeful, and I'm optimistic about where we're headed for this. So I'm excited to see what's happening.
Do you think the market's going to stay like this for a couple of years or so?
Yeah. How often do you see the market continuing like this?
I would stretch to say at least for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I see it. I really do. That's honestly what I see. I mean, we're getting people. We had a call the other day, somebody moved from Canada that wants to move to Houston. One of our agents is working with somebody at the moment. They're moving from Mexico, a vice president of a company moving into Houston, and they can't find a market in the $600,000. Wow. They can't find a house. He's working downtown and he's looking for something in the area, and he's not able to find a house.
And on the whole, the real estate in Texas has been fairly inexpensive in comparison to the other parts of the country. So you got folks moving from like the West Coast, California, and they're selling those homes, and they're coming here and like, well, shoot, I could buy 2 of these.
Exactly.
So they got all this money to put down.
And I think that's one of the things that are happening. That's where a lot of cash offers are in place most of the time, because they get their equity from properties of $1 million and then they come here and buy a $250,000 home, which is a lot better than what they had over there.
Yeah, I'm convinced that was part of the whole Tesla thing with them moving over to Austin now, because what they can do. I mean, a house in San Francisco is like 1.5 million, for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath or whatever. And if they move to Austin, I mean, you could buy a huge house for 1.5 million.
Right.
I mean, you could, you really could, and you're saving money, and the cost of living's not as much, and everything else. We've just had somebody I've known for a long time. They'd retired over in Florida, and the first thing they said was they couldn't believe how much gas was over there. They couldn't believe how much it was to live in Florida.
Right.
I think Houston's been very, and the Texas market as a whole has been. Our prices really haven't gone up a lot. I think we're in a multiple offer situation, but they haven't really gone up a lot compared to some other states.
Absolutely. We haven't. We've been fairly stable, I would
So if the
say.
prices ever come down, they're not going to come down as much.
Yeah, right. And then we'll by that time we'll be used to it. And we'll say, oh, that's a deal.
Yeah.
But it'll still be, over the whole thing, kind of high. But nevertheless, it's I think we stand to make a good living moving forward with it for the next few years with this. So we got to make hay. We definitely got to make hay.
Make hay while the sun shines.
There you go.
Yeah, but I just want people to be represented, because I really feel it's such a competitive market. It's important that the buyers to get in, and most of all, people want to come and live the American dream. And I personally feel that getting your own house and getting that equity is part of the American dream.
It is.
And I know how hard William works. I mean, he's got a construction company. He's even done work for us, in construction on a Saturday or Sunday, even, helping us, get this podcast going, the podcast room. Him and his wife have been here on a Saturday.
What?
So he's
the
really...
wife to work, huh?
Absolutely. He puts his wife to work. But it's so good to see. And I know you've got your dreams, William, and I hope you achieve every single one of them. And that's what it is. Everybody should be out there living their dream.
Absolutely.
That's,
I'll say this, so just to put a bow on this deal, for all you cash offer people, money is cheap. Use mine. Keep your money. Use my money. It's, don't put all that money on that property. Use my money and let's get you a mortgage on this thing.
How long do you think the inventory problem is going to last for, Jay?
Man, I don't know, because I don't even know if the builders can keep up with the demand. And you see some builders that you never thought would get into space. And I won't say any names of specific builders, but builders that were building what you would call that upper level home. They're getting into the lower end with some of the lower end builders just to compete, because for so long that price range was was moving slow, but now that everybody's buying, everyone's kind of putting their toe in the water to try to see if they can do that. So I'm hoping that they can kind of catch up with everything, but as long as they don't price everyone out of it with the cost of materials going up, and because you can't buy a home.
Well, the builder.
I'm just afraid that if middle class people are going to be able to afford it.
Well, that's the problem. How can they get on the ladder if they can't? Buying that first house is the most important move.
And it's
get on
hard.
that ladder. They've got to get on that ladder.
You're hard pressed to find something less than 200,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I really feel for some of these people that they sell their house, and then because they've got equity in the house, and then they haven't got the opportunity to buy the next house.
Yeah.
And then they're in a very bad situation, and it's like a domino effect, because then the people that are buying their house, maybe they're selling their house. And it from that point of view, it can really turn into a mess back again if you haven't got a good agent to do that. And I really think, the likes of some of these sites where you go on and they'll make you an offer for their house. We had one recently for that, and one of them sites offered them $297,000 for the house, and we sold it. We sold that exact same house with no repairs for $370,000.
Oh wow!
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I always get on the MLS in the mornings, see if there's anything available below 200,000. Because back in 2019, when I was looking for homes, I would get on them MLS and see if anything below 200, like $180,000 needed repair, I will make an offer on. But now everything is above $180,000 and they need repair.
They need repair.
Yeah.
So it's not enough meat on the bone for you, right?
Yeah, no, people are selling their homes for top dollar, even if they need repair.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the wholesalers now at the moment, some of them are even, you know, offering 85, 90%, you know, before they do the repairs for some of these houses.
Yeah.
You know, the truth of the matter is, and I just think if that's the case, would they get more money if they used a good quality agent?
Oh, they definitely will if they use a quality agent.
You know, that's really what it's about. But sort of, you know, let's sort of move on a little bit. Let's move along the pipe. But I mean, so James, you feel that you see it going on for another, what, 2 to 3 years?
That would be mine if I had to guess, yeah.
Interest rates in that time, do you feel they will continue to stay low?
Mm-hmm. If not go lower.
Wow.
You know, one of the things they do in Europe, which I've got to mention, because when the house of prices in Europe went up, they did a program which was basically you loan half and you rent the other half of the house. Do you think it'll ever get to that point over here, where you'd do a loan on half of the house and then you would rent the house from a particular organisation? I've never ever liked that program.
Oh man, I haven't seen them doing anything like a co-op kind of deal.
Yeah, it's basically what happens is that it basically it's a government program, and what happens is you purchase half of the house, all right, which is like a regular loan. The reason why they do that is to try and make housing more affordable. And then the other half of the house is basically a government program where you rent it. Mm-hmm. So you're paying, part of it is your mortgage, and the other half is like a rental payment. And then when you get that up, then you're in a position where sometimes you can, you know, as you in a better position, then you can mortgage the other side of it.
Oh wow! And that's not a product that
I've never known it over here, but it does go on in Europe. You know, in Birmingham, where originally I'm from, that's what they do, and it's a way how first-time home buyers can get. And I really think at times, perhaps, the government needs to get involved to get a little bit more involved. I mean, we all talk about affordable housing, and affordable housing to me is very important. But I was talking to somebody the other day he's about 24, 25 years old, and he says, oh, well, I don't want to buy a house. And I was trying to tell him that, is that really what you want to do? And I was asking him, why do you not want to buy a house? But he had this thing, well, I'm better off buying stocks. But to me, to me it's all about diversity. Yeah, you can buy your stocks by all means, but I think you're better off, buying a little bit of real estate. Buy a little bit of real estate. I mean, everybody's got this concept, well, it's going to crash and it's going to come down, and I just don't see it happening. And I think the longer they leave it, the more they're going to get left behind that ball.
That's true.
And that's one of the reasons why when I came in, when I came over to the States, that's what I wanted to do. That was my first goal, to go out there and get a house, because I really think you're better off buying a house than you are paying a landlord, because what are you paying it for?
That's true. But some rents now, man, are just as much as a mortgage.
Oh yeah, way above.
It's crazy, man. People buying rent, $2,000, $3,000. I mean, to rent. Mm-hmm. You don't own, but that's the only option.
And you're not buying no equity. You're not getting nothing for the future. It's a challenge. So, we'll see. Anyway, guys, I guess we'll wrap it up. But I just want to thank everybody coming. James from League Group Loans, I want to thank you for coming to the table today. And William, I really want to thank you for coming to the Olympian table.
It's a pleasure.
This is where real estate starts, and dreams start as well. And we really want people to. Anybody's got any comments, please like and subscribe. We'd love to sort of get your input and your comments on the market.
Absolutely.
As an Olympian concept, one of my biggest concepts is, You know, I learn from you just as much as you learn from me. So let's share ideas. You know, let's see how we can make the world a better place. You know,
Absolutely.
and let's see how we can live your dream. If you need any help, you know where to find us all. You know, email, contact us. Anyway, guys, so we look forward until the next time we see you. And, you know, go live your dreams.
All right. Take care.